With me today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Heather Pastore, Vice President of Jindo Rescue, a 501c nonprofit working to rescue dogs from horrific conditions in South Korea's dog meat trade, puppy mills, as well as abandoned dogs. Jindo Rescue was founded by Korean Soo Jeong Kim with the help of Patty Kim, who she connected with on Facebook back in June of 2015. Facebook is useful for many things, making great connections. So since then, the Jindo Rescue team has grown to include Heather Pastore, our guest today, Vice President, and has averaged about 150 to 200 dog rescues a year. Everyone at Jindo Rescues are passionate volunteers dedicated to saving the lives of the dogs of Korea from slaughterhouses and kill shelters. With no overhead or paid salaries, every donation dollar goes to save, rehabilitate, and adopt these beautiful dogs and to loving forever homes in the United States of America. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Heather.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for accepting my invitation. I really wanted to feature your nonprofit on the show because I came to know it here and there through posts. And the fact that you are, you've been doing this work since 2015, really, and you're making a big difference for these dogs in South Korea. I really wanted to feature Jindo Rescue on the show, so thank you so much. So we're going to obviously talk about the work that you do, your role, specific role on the team, and your experiences, your knowledge about South Korea's dog meat farms, that sort of thing. But before we get into those details, I always like to have a little bit of a background note on our guests. So if you wouldn't mind letting us know, for example, like where were you born and raised, and did you always love animals from the get-go?
I was born and raised in California. I started in Southern California and then made my way up to the Napa Valley. I move around a lot. So now I'm in Massachusetts. Always loved animals, saved baby birds that had fallen out of the nest kind of thing. And had dogs always. And my mother has a horse farm in Oregon. So all animals, I love them all. And I would love to see as well as the dog meat trade to end. Factory farming needs to definitely be revamped, and anything that I can do to raise awareness about animal suffering, that's where I'm at.
Well, that's amazing. So your parents, I guess, nurtured that love for animals in you from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, we just always had them around, so they're like family.
Well, they are, and that's one thing I've observed, like through my interviews on the podcast so far. I think I've done over 35 at this point. So
I love watching them.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. I'm glad because I really started the podcast as a way to educate myself. Because I discovered the dog meat trade very late, actually, later than most, in 2018. And it was just very distressful to see these dogs and the conditions they're in. And, it's just absolutely horrific what they go through. And I was determined to do something, but I didn't know how I could help. From overseas, you're often left feeling a little bit hopeless or, powerless. But as I discovered, like you, there are many things that we, concerned citizens can do to help the cause. And so it's great that, we have someone like you advocating for their rights. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I just a little bit curious when you first heard about the dog camp meat trade.
I heard about it. Let's see here. It was about 2015 when I started working with fighting the dog meat trade. Mark Ching, I know he's a really controversial person at this moment, but
unfortunately, yeah.
He was the forefront, and I saw what he was doing, and I saw what was going on there. I had literally no idea. I started, working to get information out about Angoras and how badly they're treated. and puppy mill farming here in the United States. And slowly I started getting information about the dog meat trade, getting more involved in Facebook. Those kind of posts started popping up on my screen, and I was like, I would shake from the disgust and the sadness that I felt when I saw these images. And so following Mark during that time, I learned a lot. I learned about what was going on with rescues in those areas in China and in Korea. And even with Soy Dog down in Thailand.
I guess for people at home, most people, most viewers of the podcast know about the dog cat meat trade and would know Mark Ching. But just to clarify, Mark Ching is at the head of the Animal Hope and Wellness Foundation, foundation that has its headquarters in Sherman Oaks, California. Maybe were you living in California at the time?
No, I wasn't. I just started following him on Facebook because of what he was doing. And he was working then with getting Hastings on board for the first House resolution. The first House resolution that I started working on was the first that was made as the House Resolution 30. And then it moved on to the House Resolution 401. I was a big part of getting out posts about these and doing call to actions about these resolutions, and just contacting Congress people over and over through Facebook, through tweets. I set up my own site at Stop the
I think we have a little audio problem.
But I just recently.
I think the audio kind of cut a little bit. So anyways, you were a part of the team that was fighting, the team of activists that worked really hard to get HR, what we know now today as HR 6720 out and passed into law, which is phenomenal. Like, I mean, that took a lot of work, I know.
It did. It was a daily effort to get that done. So.
Yeah. It's groundbreaking. It's a big, you don't pass a law, get a law passed into Congress without effort. And so it took a lot, and you were instrumental in that team. And so HR 6720 is the Dog Cat Meat Trade Prohibition Act of 2018. It was passed as part of the Farm Bill, as I understand it, in late 2018. Basically it says that it's illegal to slaughter and consume dogs and cats in the United States of America. This is a law that we want to see every country adopt. And I myself, I'm from Canada, and I know that a former guest on the podcast, James Chai, who also helped Animal Hope and Wellness because he worked to rehabilitate Minky, which was a dog rescued from South Korea. And he was deemed dangerous, like he was not able to socialize. I mean, Animal Hope and Wellness did what they could, and they enlisted his expertise, and he basically rehabilitated the dog in a few days, so he's really phenomenal. Yeah. And he started the petition to demand that Canada adopts a similar law, to ban dog and cat meat consumption and slaughter in Canada. And I've done some follow-ups. I tried to get people to sign. We have accumulated over, close to 130,000 signatures, but it's just a big struggle. And that's where you see the difference, because without a team of activists that are dedicating their time to this, it's really, really difficult to get this through. And so I guess Canada feels like it's not a priority because there's no such thing here. As a whole, there's no such thing. There are incidents that have been reported, and I've, learned of a few actually in Montreal. So that's, we're going to hope.
Yeah, the idea that it's even legal in our country when we're fighting to end it in others, just even if it's not something that's a common thing in our country, we just need to banish it, because to say you need to do it and our country's not even going to do it. It's just hypocritical, basically, so gotta clean ourselves up, and then we can be on the, you know, on the
same level playing field. That's right. Because a lot of those efforts came out because they were trying, I mean, Animal Hope and Wellness and other rescue groups were trying to negotiate with Yulin government, for example, to ban their festival, to ban dog cat meat. And obviously the governments were like, well, do you have such a law in your country? And they, at the time, they didn't. So of course, you know, they worked really hard and they made it. So congratulations, all the hard work paid off.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope that we can echo that effort here. And also in the UK, there have been a lot of work towards getting the same ban. And so, okay, so you worked on that. You learned about the dog cat meat trade in 2015 through Mark Ching, some of the posts. And I guess in that year, did you get involved with Jindo Love Rescue or?
Well, there was a lot of controversy going on with rescues. People didn't really trust these Asian rescues, you know. A lot of people were asking for donations and sharing pictures about what was going on, but people, it was all, it's a scam, it's a scam. And there was a lot of that going on, you know, because they just didn't trust. Like, why were they going to trust and give money to these Asian rescues? Does a dog trade even really exist? You know, so this was going on and people just didn't know and were shocked when they heard about it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of took it upon myself to check around and see what these rescues were up to. And Jindo Love drew me in. They had beautiful posts, flight posts, and people meeting their dogs. Patty Kim was very active with meeting people herself at the airports. Okay. I started talking with them and sharing their dogs. Patty Kim was like overwhelmingly busy because it was just her and
Soo Jian Kim, right?
So I just got to know them. Yeah. And I just got to know them. And one day I was trying to get a hold of Patty just to say hello, and she could barely talk to me. I was like, "Hey, do you need help? I can help you out," you know?
Yeah.
And it was right after President Trump was elected, and I really felt strongly in my heart that I needed to do something more to combat the negativity that I knew was going to be him. So, that's it. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to really dive in and do something to be a positive influence in the world, because I know that this presidency was not going to be catering to animals whatsoever.
No, but I mean, in all fairness, he did pass the law, but you know, a lot of people say he wasn't aware of the particularities, but you know, we still have to, you know, give credit where credit's due. It was passed under his presidency, but yes, you're right. You know, of course, we don't know Donald Trump to be a huge animal lover and certainly not much of an advocate.
At that point, I didn't think he had any of that in him. So
no.
Right when he was elected. So I called Patty. She's like, I don't know. I'm not sure. And just kind of worried about, like, you know, who is she and how is she going to help me? But I got in there, and Patty and I have the very similar brains, and we were able to really come together and just revamp it together. We helped it grow. And we weren't a 501c3 at that point. And we brought in, with our good work, we brought in defense of animals to come help back us. So we are partnered with In Defense of Animals.
My first thoughts were like, oh my gosh. And I'd seen the one video of her drinking water in the back of the truck.
얘가 깔려있네. 깔려있어서 힘든가 봐. 어떡해.
You can kind of see the severity. It was just like shocking. But the first time I met her, I could not believe that her temperament was so welcoming for a dog that had been through what she had been through. Like, opening that door right away, her face was right in the door. She was not shy at all, tail wagging, sat down on the floor with her, and she was immediately in my lap or rolled over on her back with me petting her belly. So I credit that a lot to the people at Jindo Love who rehabbed and helped her out, and also Dahlia, her foster mom. Nico dramatically changed my life because I deal with a lot of anxiety and depression, and so I've always been looking into emotional support animals. I never really realized just how much having a companion animal like a dog can go ahead and change your life, because she gives me a reason to get out of bed every day. Every single morning, she relies on me to take care of her, and that motivates me in a way that I never really expected. And coming home and seeing just how excited she is to see me really increases how much I feel valued in my own life through her. Nico's genuinely my best friend. She's friends with everybody she meets. After all that she has been through, how is she this awesome? And it's only been not even half a year. I would say that Nico will be cherished and loved and celebrated the rest of her life.
Partnered with In Defense of Animals, and we're very grateful for their help.
Yeah.
A wonderful organization as well.
It's California based, I think that,
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And who's at the head of that particular group?
It's funny. I don't know. I know that there has been a death of the person, the person who was head.
Who originally started it?
Yeah. And now, so I'm not quite sure who's taking.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
And we work with Fleur Dawes. Really, she's the person that we work with mostly.
Who?
Fleur Dawes, and she's adopted one of our dogs too.
Oh, okay. So maybe you'll write me the name of that person so I can post it, because they usually will put some information in the podcast, because sometimes I don't hear the names properly. And, but okay, so needless to say, you took it on. You took on this cause, and you were determined to make a difference, and you have. So that's pretty amazing. And can you tell us a little bit more about the founder of Jindo Love Rescue, Soo Jeon Kim? I mean, I know she lives in Korea. She's a Korean. And I'm a little bit wondering what Patty Kim's relationship. She's more of a Korean living in America, I think.
Yes, Patty Kim.
Okay.
Yeah, she's been here since she was very little.
And so I guess because they're both Korean, she was able to, kind of message her probably in Korean and connect with Soo Jeon Kim. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit more about Soo? Or
yes, she's a huge animal lover and advocate. She's a vegan, and
wow.
She can't stand seeing animals and stress and torture, and she almost really just hates living in Korea and going out and seeing the markets. It breaks her heart.
Yeah.
She's rescued she has 20 cats in her home that she's rescued. She just wishes that
20 cats. Oh my God. Yeah.
Jindo Love would start rescuing cats more, but it's so expensive. It's just as expensive to send a cat over as a dog, and people aren't willing to pay the prices for a cat.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so she's just gathering as many cats as she can keep.
Oh, wow. No, I guess you're right. I think America is more of a dog-loving nation than cat,
people expect to get cats basically for free.
Oh my God. I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a cat. No, I guess not. Yeah. I mean, it's the reality.
Yeah, it really is. So she's got 20 cats, and she has her big dog. She has a few Malamutes and a Saint Bernard, and she's everything about this rescue.
I'm just curious.
Rescues. She she does everything that she can to properly vet every single dog. We go over the top when it comes to getting them vaccinated and spayed, and we won't let a dog go unless they're spayed and they get proper medical treatment.
Yeah, she's
really
saying she has the day-to-day, operations. Like it's only her. So in Korea, right? So, or I mean, hopefully she has some help.
We have a foster mom that comes in, does a lot of work. Our foster moms we have a great facility, and IDA is the one that helped us build this facility.
Wow.
So we're very grateful for IDA because we wouldn't have this facility without their help. Wow. But every dog is loved like they are our own. So much care and love goes into each of them. Rehabilitation. When we rescue dogs from the meat trade directly, a lot of them have problems trusting people, get them to facilities for training. We just really try everything that we can to get them ready to go home. So there's not too much work and stress for the people adopting them. Still, dogs go home and they have fears and stresses and that they need to still get over. But we let their adopters know that, can you handle it? Are you
going to be patient enough? And,
patient enough. We have a very extensive adoption process that we put people through. And thank you.
We're going to talk about that because it's an important part.
Thank our beautiful Jindo Love family for dealing with all of our questions.
Yeah, no, it's super important because that would be one of my first concerns. And actually, I have a funny story to say about this because I volunteer for the SPCA, my local SPCA. And I was like thinking of roles that I could do in that organization. And I was like, I would love to be at the head of adoptions. And the people that know me, they were like, no, Jade, no, you're the worst person for that because unless the person is crying and showing that I love this dog, like you're not going to think they're good enough, like no one's good enough. It's going to be like, oh no, I don't feel it's the right family. No dog would get adopted under me, I guess. So
it's hard. It's hard work. And Sue is the hardest, you really have to convince her, if there's anything just slightly off, she's like, I'm not sending a dog.
No, and I don't blame her because these dogs have been already so traumatized that the last thing you want is for them to enter another bad situation, right? So they're your proteges and you want to make sure that they have the best of the best and that's what they deserve. So I'm just curious because Soo Jeong Kim, I mean, she was born and raised probably in an average family and she became vegan, I guess, later in life by her own through her own education, I guess.
Yeah, she was definitely traumatized by the meat trade, and especially her first experience when she was about 9 years old. She witnessed someone brutally killing a cat to make a tonic from it.
To make what?
A tonic, like an arthritis tonic.
Oh, yes. Cats are targeted for that. It's like a anti-arthritic pain elixir or something. I think it's more popular in Vietnam though, but maybe you'll be able to answer that because that's one of my questions.
Yeah, you see it all over, and I do have a story for you when you ask.
Okay.
And then eating dogs is a cultural practice in Korea, and so I mean she's aware of it. Her husband's family used to eat dog and cat as well, and she just seeing it, being aware of it, it just made her sensitive. She's just really sensitive and she hates to see it happen. And she spends her own money on these dogs. So much of it comes from her directly to save these dogs and the cats that she saves on her own.
It's amazing to me because when we talked about your upbringing and background, I mean, for those of us who live in North America, it's kind of easy to love animals because, we're brought into a society that, respects certain animals. Okay. I mean, we all know that we eat animals, but, dogs and cats are certainly not on the list of most people's food staples in North America for sure. And so it's more susceptible to nurture and foster love for animals, right? But someone who grows up seeing their own parents, engage in the trade, for example, or, just consuming dogs and cats, it becomes like normalized, like, so it's really, I mean, there are exceptional people out there that, just in spite of all of that, in spite of being exposed to it from an early age, they think differently and they see things differently and they don't conform, and they probably feel like ostracized a little bit, in their circle of family. But, I always am pretty amazed to see, like, Korean, and we have Chinese examples of people that, are willing to risk their lives to save these animals. And they had everything against them, like they were never nurtured and brought up to love animals. So I find it exceptional. So
it is. And it says a lot too. I mean, once you are feeling this way toward animals, we feel this way toward each other.
Yes.
With that, it brings a better world, just and
world peace one day. I mean, please. If we don't respect another life, then, we really don't respect our own life, because our lives you can see the life in another being, right? Like when you look at your dog, you see the same expressions in his eyes. It's so obvious that they feel everything we feel. They have expressed emotions, happiness, sadness, it's all there. So
my little dog that I had on my lap earlier, Fredo,
yes, I don't know if he's still around, but I guess they're taking a nap right now.
They're taking a nap down here.
Heather has 3 of her dogs that were rescued. One is an Italian Greyhound. I think they're all Italian Greyhounds. Yeah. Oh my God, they're in the same bed.
Oh, they sleep together all the time. I have one night for them in my bedroom, and they all pile in there at night to sleep together.
That is amazing. It's so cute.
They're so sensitive though. Like if they get just a little pinch, they cry, oh, you pinched me, or something.
Imagine.
And just, imagine they have the best lives ever. And still, it's just so fragile. And to know that there are these dogs out there that have no comfort whatsoever.
I know. And so, it just goes to show, like, a little pinch will hurt them. So we can imagine when they're brutalized like that. And so I don't know if you can name them, like, while we're at it with your dogs. Yeah.
You want me to grab them? This is my
I didn't want you to disturb them, but God.
My youngest. This is Enzo.
Enzo.
He's a dog lover. He's shy with people.
Oh, I love you, Enzo. You're so beautiful. Oh my God.
Such a little lover.
He's tiny. And this is him.
They're about 20 pounds. And I have big ones. They can be like 12 to 20 pounds. So.
Oh my God. How old do you think he is?
He's about 5.
Oh, wow. Can you tell, because I think you told me at the beginning a bit of his story, but could you tell viewers how you rescued him?
He was with a breeder, and she was like a hoarder almost. She just had dogs all over the place. Her house stained.
In the U.S.? In the U.S.?
In the U.S. here, yeah. In actually Rhode Island. So we went in there and we helped rescue them. And I saw him, he was at my feet the whole time. So I picked him up, and Italian Greyhounds are kind of silly. When you pick them up, they shiver, but he didn't shiver. He was like different. And what he does is when he gets picked up and he's worried, he raises his little head up to the heavens in hopes that nobody will hurt him.
Oh my Lord.
But he's very sweet, and
he's so gentle. And I wish I had a dog like that, because I always wanted to have a co-host for my podcast, and he looks like he'd be a great co-host. He's so calm, and I tried to get my cat on the podcast, but no. They won't have it.
He's so funny. Italian Greyhounds, they say you should never let them off leash because they are sight hounds, and if they see a rabbit or something, they go
for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But this one, he heels at my feet and doesn't leave my side when we walk, so I don't have to leash him. He's just a natural. He just stays by my feet. So I can trust him anywhere.
Wow. I guess he's a little bit different, like he's not your typical greyhound. Wow. And are the other two related? No, eh? They're not from the same.
No. And then we've got Fredo. Can I see you? See, this is Fredo. He is.
Fredo. Oh.
He is a little bit more high strung. He's the guard dog of the house.
Oh my God. So cute.
He definitely needs a leash.
Yes. Okay.
Pink chest. He's got a nice chest.
Yes. It's a little pink chest. And is he about the same weight as the other one? Enzo? Yeah. They're
longer legs. Enzo's a little chubby. He's always a little chubby. He loves to eat. And this one's a little bit more leggy. He's like kind of like a giraffe, we call him. He's our little giraffe.
Oh,
dog.
wow. Very leggy.
Legs,
he's the model. He's the model of the trio. That is long. Those are long legs, I have to say.
All legs,
Wow. Fredo, you could be a fashion model.
All right. And I hold this boy. I'll go grab him real quick. Come here, Carmine. Let me say hi. Come here. Oh. And this is Carmine. He's 14.
Carmine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my Lord, he's so pretty, and he's got like caramel color.
Yeah. He's got a inflamed salivary gland, and they can't operate on it because of his age, and there's so many vessels in there and everything. So I'm gonna show him your gland. It's kind of
okay. It's a little swollen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, poor thing.
He's great. He's an adventurous soul too, and he doesn't need to be leashed either when I take him for a walk.
Wow. Another one.
I live on a cranberry bog, so they have trails all around the cranberry bog.
Wow. And from the same breeder, or is it?
No, this one I got him a long time ago, 14 years ago. I got him as a little.
Oh my God. How old is he?
He's 14.
Oh, okay. So you got him from the baby, from the get-go.
He's the only one I got from a really good breeder, a really ethical and did everything right.
So is it true what they say that greyhounds sleep like 20 hours a day? Is that?
Yeah, they sleep a lot. They sleep a lot. And then when they're awake, they want to play and run around. Wow. They love their walks. We have a nice big backyard. And they go outside.
Wow. Because that's one thing my husband, because I dream of having a dog, and I have 2 cats. And my husband was like, well, having a dog is very different, than having a cat. You're going to have to be walking them, playing with them. They're going to be bugging you when you're working. They want attention.
They're like children.
Yeah, well, for sure. And then I said, maybe a greyhound then, because I heard that, they sleep a lot. So I'm like, maybe that would be the best transition.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So those are beautiful dogs. And do you have other fur babies in your family, or?
No, we probably have some cats, but my son is allergic.
Oh, okay. Well, you got your hands full with those 3.
3 dogs and 2 young boys keep me busy.
Oh, wow. So getting back to the work that you do, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, that your role is more about the adoptions. So you probably screen all applications with Patty, maybe. I'll let you tell us.
Yeah. Lately, I actually have stepped back away from doing adoptions because I had done it 24/7 for 4 years. So
yeah.
Going insane a little bit. And so we have some great volunteers that are doing it now. But basically, people come to us and interested in a dog, and either they're interested in a certain dog on our website or on Facebook. And they'll contact me through Messenger, and then I'll get them set up. I'll show them some dogs, get to know them a little bit. It's hard really getting to know people when you're adopting animals online. So just having a conversation with somebody helps a ton, and getting to know who they are, what their expectations are. And then I set them up with the rest of the group. So everybody is in there. All of our volunteers are in there. We're all talking. They send us, we send them a huge list of questions, and we ask for pictures of their home and references. Also, if they're renting, we need documentation about renting and their pet policies.
Okay. Yes.
Yes. And then once they make it through that part of the interview, then we give them an application.
Oh, okay. So,
they have to do the
so there's no
application.
application online. It's not like you can, okay, let me send in my application. You actually want to know the person.
Although now we are working on something like that, where they fill out the application first before we get to know them, because now that we are so busy, we don't have the time to get to know people individually at first, especially if they end up not being a good fit. So first we want to see if they're a good fit. So we'll be starting the application first, and then we'll start having a conversation where we can get to know them better once we establish them. So we are doing some revamping, but
but for now, I guess people can go to your website, and you do have dogs for adoption, right? You have their picture and a little description, so someone would reach out to you and go, "I'm interested in that dog," and then the conversation starts, and later on the application, if they're worthy. And
I asked for some money for the application too, because it shows that they're dedicated.
Yeah.
And
no one's wasting your time,
Right. So. The application fee then goes to the adoption fee if they're approved. If they're not approved, then we give them their application fee back.
Okay.
It's not their fault that they're approved. We're not going to keep their money.
Right.
But,
yeah. Thanks, but no. We'll take another few.
Donation. We'll take it.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. And I think that's, I had on the podcast Animal Hope and Wellness, and we talked about their adoption process and vetting, and the fees were really low. I mean, this was before the pandemic hit, or I think it was while it hit. I forgot. I think it might have been before the pandemic. And so the cost, I think, is like $400 or $500, which is very low compared to others, right? And so they were like, well, people can donate. So I'd be like, yes, please donate, because it's the costs are astronomical. I mean, just if you count all the vet bills and the medical care, some of these dogs require surgery. It goes up very, very quickly. So, and speaking of fees, can you tell us a little bit more? I mean, I know COVID. Created quite the hike in prices in terms of flying dogs from those countries, Korea specifically in your case. But normally, under normal circumstances, what are the adoption fees like?
Well, before COVID, we could easily get, I say easily, we could get more couriers. We have a courier, a flight volunteer. We can get dogs home we were doing 700 to 800, maybe a little bit more for purebred dogs, because then the little bit more that we get for a purebred dog would help, fund other dogs. Yeah. So 700 to, I don't know, for a golden retriever or a bigger dog, be up to $1,200 normally with a courier. We hardly ever used cargo, which the dog would then have to fly alone and go through the process of being
on a pallet. Yeah.
So that cargo cost is doubled. So that's tough. So when COVID hit, nobody was flying. We couldn't get couriers. So,
and so
it depends on how big the dog is. So it can go up really high if a dog weighs a lot.
Yeah. So have you had to go with cargo flights during COVID?
Well, during COVID, nobody was flying. Most during this COVID time, most of the flights have been cargo. So, you're having people come to you. How much are the dogs? And you're saying $2,300.
Yeah. That's the reality. Huh?
Yeah. And then we had to also raise the courier fee too, because even at $2,300, we are basically sending dogs free, because $2,300
It's for the flight. Yeah.
Flight only.
Yeah.
So we're missing out on all the vetting fees, anything that we would associate with the dog's adoption fee.
Yeah. Nothing.
Throw that out the window. But thankfully, we thought that things would really drop off and it was going to be devastating for the dogs because we wouldn't be able to get them out at these fees.
Yeah.
We have been just as busy as ever. So.
Oh, wow. People rose to the occasion. They realized that it was out of your control. Yeah. And, they probably are touched by the stories of these dogs, and they're willing to, it's worth it. It's worth it to bring a dog to safety. That dog's going to change your life for the better.
And a lot of our adopters that had adopted with us before adopted again with us during this time.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So you do have a Jindo Love Rescue family. You're building it one by one.
We do. We have a private Facebook page for our family members. So when you adopt with us, we ask you to join there, and we share stories and pictures about the dogs. And
probably tips, share tips, okay, well, my dog did.
We get together, if there are people in certain areas, they'll come together for Jindo Love play dates. And it really is a family. So that's what I love about this rescue.
And, you've been doing it since 2015. So at this point, you probably have quite the large family. Can you say about how many are part of that private group?
Gosh, I think
hundreds.
I would say we almost have 1,000 members. But that doesn't signify how many dogs are in there, because some of our members have 5 of our dogs.
Oh my God.
Dogs or 3 dogs.
Alumni, yeah.
We do have a lot of repeat people adopting with us.
And that speaks volumes about you as an organization. People, you built the trust, and, people are like, I'm going to go with them because, I can trust them and they're honest and transparent. So that's super important. Yeah. And so, so the costs, have gone up, and luckily people rose to the occasion. So it hasn't caused too much turmoil, but any idea at this point in time, like we're now in May of 2021, are flight volunteers more of a viable option at this stage, or still not?
Yes, we're getting more couriers.
Okay. When you call couriers like flight volunteers, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We have more couriers, more flight volunteers lately. It's been great, but we're still very limited on the airports that we can fly into. So, basically JFK, LAX, and random ones here and there, and maybe Chicago every once in a while, or sometimes to Boston.
Yeah.
But it's limited. We're really just JFK, LAX right now. And it's hard because we can't get dogs to other places in the country very easily.
And why is that? I guess some airports are just not equipped to have those kind of
people don't fly. People aren't flying to those.
Okay. It all boils down to that, right?
And, in the worst of times, airports were just shut down for cargo flights coming from those kind of countries.
Well, I heard recently, I guess it was in March, that, all flights from China to the US were stopped, do you know about that? Or
I heard about that, but I'm not sure, because our dogs were coming from Korea. So
so you're not, aware of what the issue was in particular, but yeah, I think people on Facebook, we heard from Harbin slaughterhouse survivors. They said that there was a problem with a rescue. Obviously, they didn't name the rescue, but they said that they were trying to cut corners and they flew dogs that were sick. And so then that became like a big alarm bell for China. Obviously, they already had COVID-19 on their head. So they were like, okay, we're going to just stop it altogether. But hopefully it's going to come back soon, because I know so many rescues are dependent on that. If they can't fly to the US, then they are able to fly through Vancouver in Canada, but it's still a lot of logistics and extra costs involved, right? So, yeah, so I'm just curious in terms of the adoption process. So you've told me, okay, so you have a conversation and then the application follows. Are there any specific criteria that you are, adamant that, like the family has to have, for example, like a fenced in yard, or, people in apartment buildings are able to adopt? I think you said that you need to see the rental agreement and whether pets are allowed, or if there's a possibility that they won't be allowed in the future, that kind of thing.
Yeah. We do it case by case, really, because we don't want to say like just a blanket no, because there's always those people that, have apartments and get out and are active with their dogs. And, so we're open to that depending on the dog's personality and if they'd be a good fit for that situation.
Yeah.
One thing that we are pretty adamant about is we love adopting dogs to families with other dogs. Yeah. Because dog meat trade dogs don't necessarily trust people as much as they trust other dogs, and they're always more comfortable when there's another dog in the house. They can learn how to be a family member easier with having a dog in the house. So that's a big thing. And we do adopt dogs to homes that don't have other dogs on occasion, and we will do that, but they have to be very special people who are willing to do the extra work and get them socialized with other dogs in the world, just because we've learned from our mistakes, and a lot of times when they're sent alone, they struggle.
And do you have a follow-up procedure? Like, I guess you know the family, so at one point there's like a follow-up 3 months after, or that sort of thing?
We really push the idea of you need to keep in contact with us, let us know what's going on. If there's any issues, we have that family group set up. So if they don't want to come directly to us, they can ask questions from other family members. Like, have you guys ever experienced this with your dog? Kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And they can always, we're there for people all of the time if they have questions or want to talk about their dog. We really, we have it in our policy that if people are struggling with their dog and want to come to us, and we will work out something where we find a foster for the dog and another adopter for that dog. So the idea of one of our dogs going into a shelter without our knowledge freaks us out. We always are there for our dogs 100%.
Yeah. Do they have a microchip or a way of tracking them?
Yes. And actually it's the law now to send them with a microchip. So when it comes time for the adopter to come pick up the dog at the airport, we let them know about their chip. They come with their vaccination books. We usually put a leash in there or a harness. They come with a little coat or jacket all the time, blanket, things from Korea that they love. And we just, they're like our children. We're sending our children out. And so through the whole process, we're there on the phone going, how did everything go? Is everything okay? Did she poop in her diaper? Take the diaper off right away. We're like mother hens. I mean,
that dog.
Like, can you please send pictures and videos? Everything okay? Please contact us.
We want to know. So
they have to sign something saying that they'll give us updates and be a part of our family group.
Excellent. So I guess it's kind of built into the contract that, if for whatever reason they can no longer take care of that dog, that they will, return it to you, or?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a safety layer. But I mean, most people, I think you probably agree that people that go out of their way to adopt a dog from Korea, from a foreign country like this, usually their heart's in the right place, and it would be unusual for them to suddenly, oh, you know what, I changed jobs and this is no longer convenient. Usually they're super dedicated, right?
Yeah, we've had our handful of people like that, though.
Yeah.
People have surrendered their dogs, and it makes it very hard for us, especially if they haven't put in the effort with their dog.
Yeah.
Start acting out. Jindos need they need a lot of work and attention. They can't just be left, without
Yes.
any training, without going for walks and having activity. They start getting into trouble.
Yeah, but it's normal. And was one of the reasons why I still don't have a dog, is because before COVID, I was always at work. And, as much as I want to have that dog, it wouldn't be fair, right? Like, you bring in a dog that's been traumatized, and you're going to leave him at home alone. You can't do that, right? So, and I was saying, wow, I'll take a sabbatical. Sure, that's an option. Not for everyone, though, but that's something that you have to think about. You have to have someone at least present, in the family, during the day.
We love stay-at-home moms. We love
that's ideal.
Work at home and be there most of the time, and we make sure that people don't keep their dogs in crates for long periods of time. 3 hours tops. We don't like electric fences, stuff like that.
Oh, yes.
Fences are great, but if you're a good, well-experienced dog owner and can handle your dog on a leash, taking him out all the time, then we will bend the rule on the fences. But fences are definitely great to keep.
Yeah, and they don't need to be, electric. What do you say? Electric fences? Yeah, so they give a shock to the dog.
Yeah, where they wear the collar, and then it's an invisible fence, and then they go past a certain point, then they get a shock. That doesn't keep them safe from predators. So anything can come into that area. The dog can't go out, and then it's experiencing pain when. I
know. I'm very much against that. And, I actually, James, who I was talking about earlier in the podcast, the one that helped Animal Hope and Wellness with Minky, he is one of those trainers. Well, he's not so much of a trainer. I think he's more a behaviorist, for dogs, especially dangerous dogs. He does no treats. No treats, no collars, none of that, because some people use shock collars just to train the dog. And he doesn't do any of that. He's like, that's, for people who don't know better, so good to hear. And in terms of, I guess went through the costs. So you obviously are good at, knowing the dog and describing to the potential adoptive family the challenges. Like you mentioned Jindo, and that's important because Jindo Love Rescue, you rescue all sorts of dogs, not necessarily just Jindos, right? But in terms of Jindo, I'm a little bit curious. You would know, what are their typical character traits? I mean, what defines a Jindo as opposed to other dog breeds?
Well, when I first when I am then confronted with an adopter who doesn't really know the breed very well, but just thinks they're cute, and
that they are.
I usually say, their characteristics are along the line of maybe a German Shepherd, a work dog, basically, who needs to have something to do. Husky, perhaps. Need to have something to do to stay happy. And when they're not happy, they tend to be destructive. They'll chew on furniture. or they'll chew up their beds all the time.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
they'll scratch up the wall. You know, eat the blinds. Things that they're not stimulated, they get into trouble. And if you have another dog and you're not stimulating that Jindo well, the Jindo may start having issues with the other dog.
Yeah.
And that has in some instances. So if you're interested in adopting a Jindo, it's really important to make sure that they get their training. Even if it's just basic training from Petco, just some sort of thing where you understand what's going on in his mind, that dog's mind a little bit. And that stimulation and learning is great for them. They are so smart. They rarely have any potty training issues because they're clean. You know, they don't like pottying where they sleep or where they eat or anything like that. So easy to train, potty train, but they need to go on lots of walks. They like to go on adventures. You know, people who are active with their dogs, it's a great fit.
Well, like a husky, I think they say huskies don't mix well with other dogs. I don't know if that's true or.
No, huskies do. It's all about training and, you know, making sure that you're the one picking the pecking order, like not letting them decide.
You have to be, take the lead, right? Like you have to be a good leader because as opposed to cats, like my cats do whatever they want. They jump on the counter, the kitchen counter. I never stop them. Like my mom's horrified. She's like, oh my God, this is not sanitary, Jade, but I'm like, it's okay. They're my babies. But a dog, they need a leader, you know, like if not, they're going to walk all over you and, you know, they'll take the lead because they need, you know, they need that. And stimulation, exercise. I mean, I've heard horror stories. I think Russian Dog Rescue, they rescued a German Shepherd of all dogs that had never been walked. That's, that hurts. Yeah, that hurts.
The shepherd is going to end up dragging their owner and he's going to end up in a shelter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. I think he started biting the child or in the family, whatever. They basically surrendered him. At least they had the decency of bringing it to, you know, a shelter or a rescue. Some people just, you know, dump the dog. Anyways. Whew, that gets me going. I just hate stories like that. You're like, oh my God, what were they thinking? You know, it's ridiculous.
They don't think. They just, you know, that's the scary thing about this COVID thing too, is so many people have been off work and wanting to dog because they're at home now. And they don't think about what's going to happen when they go back to work. You know, this dog is used to them being around all the time. They're going to go through separation anxiety, you know, and start tearing their house apart. And then they're going to get to the point where like, well, this dog isn't working out for me anymore because of my lifestyle change. So we had to be with the adoption process during COVID, we had to be very careful about trying to spot those types of people who were just looking for a dog.
For temporary fix. It's all, you know, boils down to their selfish needs.
Right now, I need a dog.
You cut off.
But it's not going to fit their lifestyles in the long run, you know, so so, you know, that person looking for a dog to entertain them during COVID, that dog isn't going to fit their lifestyles in the long run, you know, if they go back to work and, you know,
a dog is not like,
and they're hardly at home anymore. And the dog is.
Yeah, it's not like a piece of furniture, you know, like, you know, please. I mean, that should be obvious.
Cats, like, I don't care if you're here or not, but
no,
dogs
cats,
are like, they need you.
Yeah, they need attention. They need time. They need, you know, like it's different. Like my husband keeps pointing out to me, he's like, you got to be ready. He never, I don't think he ever had a dog.
You have to be mommy.
Yes. Well, I had a dog growing up, strangely enough, and it was a Great Dane, a beautiful dog. And strangely enough, back in the day, I didn't have any connection. I have a hard time believing I'm the same person today that I was back then, but I don't know. The connection hadn't been made. Like I didn't make that that connection until I adopted my first cat. And I think that makes a huge difference when you're the one deciding to do something, like my dad is the one who wanted a dog, right? So it was like his dog, and I just, felt it was my dad's dog, and I didn't bond, but now I would totally bond, I'm glad I've, there's an evolution to everything. And so I'm glad that I'm more in touch with that side of me, it's hard to believe that some people don't see that in animals, but I guess I was one of them once upon a time. So there's hope for everyone. And
there is. An animal awakening.
Yes, exactly. I just wanted to touch upon a recent post that I saw on Jindo Love Rescue's Facebook page. It's about a dog called Treasure. Yeah, and shared that with me, and I reshared it because, ooh, that dog, it's a little puppy. And he was, I don't know, I'm going to ask you in what circumstances was he rescued? Because he had been a victim of severe abuse and cruelty.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit of his story?
Sure. Yes. One of our foster moms works with the local kill shelter that is near our rescue. And she went in to help out one day, take care of the dogs. And he was there. And the owner of the kill shelter told the story about what had happened to this little guy, and that he was about to be euthanized because of his injuries. So our foster mom just saying, "Oh, this is terrible. Like we're gonna take him and see if we can help him." So the kill shelter owner gave him to her, and we did our best to put him back together again. He's doing really, really well now. He has quite the spirit. We weren't ever afraid for his life because he has quite the spirit. He's just like, I'm going to live and I'm going to have fun. And I don't care if I don't have a leg anymore, because we had to amputate one of his legs because it was so severely broken. And his other lacerations, they said that the vet said it looked like someone had him on a stick with a hook and had been flinging him up into the air and slamming him down on the ground.
This is a puppy. This is a puppy.
Puppy. He's 2 months old. He was 2 months old. But that's the meat trade. This is the meat trade.
Yeah. It's absolutely horrific. And I've seen, I can't watch the videos anymore because they cause so much trauma.
I know. I can't either.
Yeah. But I did see some of the footage that was taken by one of my guests, Kevin Leahy. Kevin Leahy is, he was born in New York, but now he lives in Toronto. He's an animal activist, a vegan activist. And he spent almost 2 years investigating dog meat farms for care. And he took footage from everything from small scale farms to medium-sized farms. And, you know, the footage says the whole story. It's just the condition that these dogs are in is unspeakable. They're exposed to the elements, you know, winter, summer, extreme temperatures. There's no protection. Some of them will have a tarp. And mothers give birth to babies in those conditions. And often the mother would eat the baby because they're so starved, like they have no nutrition. They're fed garbage waste. It's just, it's no wonder it compels people like you and me to get involved and to do something, because this is an atrocity that should never be taking place. You know, there's no reason, there's no excuse. You cannot say this is culture, right?
These are innocent animals that trust us, and to treat them like that, it takes an extreme monster to do the things that they do. And it's not just in the name of dog meat. I think that some of these people enjoy doing this to these animals.
Yeah. And some of my guests said, you know, like, because what boggled my mind was why do they go out of their way to be cruel? You know, like, it's not like they're just eating the dog, you know, like killing it quickly for their meat. That's not, I mean, it might be in some cases, but, you know, more often than not, they're victims of extreme cruelty. I mean, just the dog meat farms, as, you know, as they're set up, there's no humane treatment, you know, of these dogs. Are seen like a commodity, like, you know, just like a means to an end, the end being money for the farmer, for the traders, for everyone involved. And some of them were like trying to explain it. They're like, oh, well, in China, these people are so mistreated. There's human rights issues in China. And, you know, they're so frustrated with their everyday life. Everyday life is just survival. And I guess they take out their frustrations on an innocent animal. Yes. And so then the child that sees the father do this, then it breeds that kind of mindset that, you know, animals are, you know, like, we don't need to care about them. You know, they have no feelings. They're not important. And so it kind of breeds a society of, you know, sociopaths, you know, if you will. I mean,
it is. I mean, that's the first step, is the treatment of animals leads to how we treat one another as human beings as well. Because if you can listen to the screams of an animal being tortured, it's a very small step to being able to torture a child or a woman, you know, depending on your strength and who you are. But usually the men that are doing this sort of torture to the animals. Yeah. I don't know. And back in World War II, and it's kind of off topic, I mean, the Japanese were very readily torturing other men in war, because that's how they've been raised. They are good torturers. You know, if anything were to ever happen, you know, they're gonna go all holds barred to, you know,
to dominate.
You know, like if China wanted to invade Taiwan and the islands, which they love to do, that's what their tactics would be, is through torture. That's what they go to. And I know it's a tough conversation, but when you have a country that focuses on that, and that's what you're going to be. That's who they are.
Yeah, and we need the people at the head of those countries to make change happen and to make right decisions and to instill some humanity and their policies. And, like we've been waiting forever for China to enact animal welfare laws. I mean, they don't even have any. And yet they're the second largest economy in the world. I work in finance.
They don't even have sufficient human rights.
No, well, that's it, So if you don't even have animal rights, I mean, you have human rights issues. I mean, I'm hopeful that things will change, but I'm afraid it's taking a little bit too much time for most of us. Most of us want a change to happen yesterday, but I guess we're going to have to be a little bit more patient and encourage the ones that are on the ground making, fighting for change. And, that involves Korean activists, that involves Chinese activists, and we have to support them. And education.
Alternatives for these people who have lived on the dog meat trade. We need to find those are all good things that we can do.
Yeah.
Just helping. I mean, even though we see these dog meat traders as the enemy, it's really their livelihood. It's like telling a guy who's farming cows down the road, that this is wrong. You can't do this.
Yeah, it's the same reaction because they're like, well, this is all I've ever known. Like, what else am I going to do? And so that's why, the idea of what Humane Society International has been doing in Korea, they've done it with small farms because the small farmers are losing money big time to the big farms, as I understand it. So they're going to be out of business anyways. And so it was the perfect opportunity to come in and say, okay, well, here's a different type of business you can get into that will earn you money, and it's going to be more humane and more ethical. So that kind of model, if you can show others that this is possible, there is a way out, and they're going to support them and financially and all that. That's what the government should be doing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
so let's some leaders in there that are going to make these changes.
Yes, but I guess now that we're talking about this dog meat trade, we're going to focus on Korea because that's really where your rescue operates in. Given the fact that Korea is a democratic political system, do you have more hope that change will come sooner than a country like China that's communist? And
well, the changes that are happening, like within Seoul, it's kind of a meaningless thing that they're not having dog meat in Seoul, because the dog meat never has been in Seoul. I mean, maybe a few restaurants here and there.
Okay.
But the slaughterhouses are all outside of Seoul, so it does not apply to those slaughterhouses, to those farms. And the big problem with these farms is that they are fueling the dog meat trade in China, because these farms are sending these dogs to China for the most part.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So, yeah. That's the problem. It's like it's linked. It's Korea is the farming country and then the export to other countries.
Yeah, well, I know Korea is the only country in the world that has industrial dog meat farms, but I did not know that. I thought in China, the trade was mostly made up of, strays and stolen pets and people selling their dogs. But you're saying that they actually import dogs from Korea. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I think that they send the dogs processed and they don't ship them over. So the dogs are processed and packaged and then sold in market.
Okay. So the end product gets imported by China. Okay. But still, and since you talked about that, I think I'm going to go back to my, because there has been a few announcements from Korea. We had, I'm going to try to go back and find the dates, but okay, yes. So on October 30th, 2019 is when Seoul, the capital of South Korea, declared itself dog slaughter free. And one of my guests on the show said, well, like, because I thought it was dog meat free. So I was like, oh, that's marvelous. That's great. He's like, no, it's dog slaughter free. So they still serve dogs in restaurants in Seoul, according to him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he said like the slaughterhouses were just moved, like Moran Market. That was one of the markets that had a lot of dogs, live dogs, in cages, waiting to be.
And a lot of other animals.
Yes, no, it's not just dogs, but they would have live dogs killed to order. Then there was the Gupo meat market that was closed down, and I think in 2019. Yeah, in June of 2019. And he was telling me, well, that means nothing for the dog meat industry, because they just basically pushed all the slaughtering outside of Seoul, where there's less scrutiny. And, so it's even worse maybe for the dogs, so, I mean, I don't see how it can be much worse, but I mean, bottom line.
Like the city is clean. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
But they're still, it's allowed. It's still happening.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard to stamp it out, because there's little farms all over the place down in the South. Our rescue is down in the South. And they have like 2 or 3 dogs on their little farm. They have some puppies, and they slaughter them there.
I know there's about 20,000 dog meat farms, or maybe a little less than that. But bottom line, everything from large scale industrial farms to the backyard farms, like you were describing. And
backyard farms are some of the worst.
Yes. And that's what Kevin Leahy had said, because he got the footage and he said, the rogue farmers, is that they called them, they labeled them that way, because they said those are the ones that actually do a lot of the beating and the torture before slaughter.
Like any sort of rules or regulations.
Yeah. And actually they did send out some inspectors on those farms, but there's no deterrent in place. Like the fines are nothing, like, oh, I'll pay the fine and keep doing what I'm doing, so. Yes. Or they get paid to look the other way or whatever, it's that kind of.
The police do play a role, and we had a large meat truck rescue that we did. There was actually like a number of goats on this rescue.
Oh my God.
The dogs, 27 dogs or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but we were there for almost 18 hours trying to negotiate getting these dogs, and the police were there, and they really did not help us at all. Stu wanted to take the goats too. I mean, we just take the whole thing, but we were lucky just to get the dogs, and some of the dogs were almost dead by the time we got them out of there.
But what was was this and what year was this?
This was in 2019. We rescued them.
Wow. And under what pretext did you stop the truck? I mean,
I'm not quite sure how our wonderful volunteers ended up stopping them.
Yes.
I know it was dangerous. I know they were being aggressive. Like, you get these dogs out of here, we're going to save them. And it was a big fight. That, like I said, the police came in and they really didn't help us at all.
No.
And, in their viewpoint, that these dogs are these slaughterhouse owners' dogs.
The property of the slaughterhouse owner.
Right. Yeah. So they fought with us a lot, and we fought with them a lot, and we stayed the course, but it was a long and grueling time. Dangerous for the dogs. They were suffocating each other. That's why a few of them had died.
Oh my God.
And we still have a few dogs that are completely traumatized by the experience. They've been over at our trainers for over a year now. And we're still trying to get them. But some of them are lost causes. You really can't adopt them out because they've been too traumatized. either before they were on the truck, during the truck. There's some of the younger dogs did really well, and we found a lot of good homes for most of them. But still, some of the other dogs are just unadoptable because they're wild. They're wild.
They don't trust humans, understandably, right?
No.
Yeah.
So, and that's tough. It was tough being with the police and having them really side with the meat truck.
Yeah, because it is, it is legal, right? So there's no law against it. And in spite of, there's something in Korea that's particular. They seem to have a different category. Like there's a pet dog, then there's a meat dog.
Yeah.
Can you speak about that?
Yeah, mostly the Tasa is the meat dog. I don't know if you're familiar with the Tasa, but it's kind of like a Mastiff type dog.
Yes, yeah, they're yellowish in color. They're bigger dogs.
Yeah, brown, dark brown, reddish brown.
Yeah.
Big dogs, they're mostly the ones farmed, but also Jindos are farmed as well. So the bigger dogs, they love the bigger dogs for the meat trade. That's why we see so many golden retrievers, because golden retrievers, Koreans love them as pets until they grow up. They grow up and they get too big, and then they end up living outdoors chained. And then from that, then they're like, well, why do we even have these dogs? And then they get sold into the dog meat market around 1 or 2 years old. So a lot of dogs that are bigger dogs like that end up meat dogs first, being puppies in a home, which is so sad, because then they know and really trust these people, and then they end up.
They knew what a family was, they got to know, get a sense of being in a part of a family. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like worse, than if you're born and raised into cruelty, well, then you've never known anything different. I mean, it's all terrible, but.
And then you got the pet dogs, and then unfortunately, this is something that Koreans really need to work on. Is like I said, they love puppies, and once they grow up, they're eager to get rid of them because they become dogs and they're not cute and fuzzy anymore and sweet. They become dogs, they lose interest in them, and that's why we see so many being dumped in the kill shelters.
Yeah.
And the kill shelters are terrible. They're not like a shelter here. None of the dogs are treated for parvo. So parvo runs rampant, distemper. They come in there severely injured, like little Treasure. And they just sit there and wait until they're euthanized, which if they're mixed dogs, they only have 10 days to live in the shelter before they're euthanized. And if they're a purebred type dog that might have a higher chance of getting adopted, they're in there for about 21 days. But really going into the shelter is sentenced to die. And, then in the meat market, people come in there and look.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Probably, perfect place to go get some dogs, right?
Yeah, but it's disgusting. These dogs are riddled with illness. When we rescue from the kill shelters, we lose about 50% of them most of the time from the illnesses that they have. So these dogs are full of illness and parasites. And they're being taken and eaten by these people.
So it's like really not much of a shelter. Like you might as well just kill the dog before bringing it to the shelter. I mean, I guess, is there a semblance of the idea of, adopting a dog from a shelter is not very popular in Korea? Because, like even here,
it's pretty much free to get a dog from a shelter. Sue, the one that we use, the one that we rescue dogs from on a regular basis, gives the dogs to us for free. And it's partially because our foster mother goes in there and helps clean up. And
she's like a volunteer. Okay.
Try to take care of the dogs and give them some sort of comfort while they're there. But a I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Well, it's more, I think, because I don't know if it's like China. China is very recent, the pet industry, like the people now are, their household income went up, so they can afford to have a dog, and it's still very nascent, I don't know if Korea has a longer history of, pet ownership, or, is it similar to China?
Well, I'm not sure about the city living. I know that where we are is more country living, and a lot of pet dogs end up just being outdoor dogs, chained in little pens outside.
Guard dogs.
Guard dogs
Yeah.
are like purchased as puppies, and they enjoy them as puppies, and then they look toward eating them when they get older.
Okay.
So that's more of the country look at the dog trade that's going on in Korea. Now, people who are educated, younger people in Korea, I'm sure that they are, and I do see it. They're more geared toward their pets and loving their pets. And being more, I guess, Western in that outlook. So,
are you saying people in more countryside or more
in the cities, more educated?
Okay, higher education, yeah, okay.
They're looking to buy, purebred dogs. The cuter, the cooler, the better. We're seeing a lot of new breeds where they try and take a cute, like a Samoyed, and make it smaller.
Yeah.
They breed mixed breeds, or like
I know that it's like little pocket dog is a popular thing. I guess it's like cute, and they put little like dresses on them. Like it becomes like an accessory almost, more than a dog.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we rescued a mill puppy rescue. It was all Pomeranians and those. Miniature poodles, teacup poodles.
Yeah.
We had a few. We had a little pugs. We had a few of those. Chihuahuas, Maltese. This was the kind of a breeding mill thing that they were selling dogs to people that really wanted to have nice pets. But, like puppy mills here, it was just disgusting. The dogs were not cared for. They used abusive practices and medicines to keep them breeding.
Oh, boy.
When they were done with them, and wanted to close, they wanted to sell all the dogs to make elixirs with them, which is like a soju wine that they make, and then they put the dog in there alive and let it drown in it, and then it steeps it in, and then you have your elixir. And they actually sell this to people for healing properties.
Oh my God.
Also, a long time ago, and I'm bringing Mark up again because this is the first time I've heard something like this, where they're making medicines out of these animals. Small dogs, unwanted small pet dogs, are often used for elixirs and medicines. Their bones,
like cats, And so, speaking of cats, because Sohochi, what is the name of that elixir? It's do you know what I'm talking about? It's Goanji Soyu or something.
Yeah, soju.
Soju. Okay.
SOJU.
Yeah. Okay. And so the first time I heard that word, it was when Lana Roski, who's an activist, she started Feline Warriors. She's pretty well known. She's been advocating for the end of the dog cat meat trade for many, many years. And she's the one who told me about that. And she defined it as a cat-like elixir. It's made of crushed bones of black cats or something. So that was the first time I heard about that. And would you say in Korea there is such a thing as a cat meat trade? Like, yes? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. You know what? One of my guests who's Korean, she's at the head of Animal Liberation Wave. I asked her that, like, is there a cat meat trade? And she's like, not that I'm aware of. And she was born and raised born and raised in Seoul. Yeah. But yes, let's talk about the cat meat trade in Korea.
Well, I don't believe that they are farmed like they are
No.
dogs. It's just something where you find a cat and you take it home and you put them in a cage and you see them in markets available. Like I said, that's Sue, when she was 9, her first experience was seeing a cat slaughtered for a meal, brutally. So it's cats, it's dogs, it's Sue's so funny. She is really mad at her own culture. She says these people eat anything that moves.
Yeah.
They will eat it. And she's like, the only thing they don't eat is houses and boats and cars, but they eat everything else.
Even a human. Well, she's kind of right about that. We've seen live wet markets in China. Anything goes, pangolins, bats.
Those elixirs that they make are all kinds of animals, wild animals, pet animals, any animal that they can get their hand on. If they got something new, they're going to make it into something. So cats are just as much endangered. Oh, cats are just as much endangered as dogs. We just don't see them farmed.
No, that's it. It's not like the same thing as the dog meat farms in South Korea, but it's definitely a market there. And I guess also something else that was brought to my attention from various guests is that a lot of doctors in Korea will prescribe dog meat to patients recovering from surgery. And I was like, well, why? Like, why dog meat? And they were like, well, because they think a dog heals quicker than humans. Let's say they have a gash, well, the dog will heal much quicker than a human. And so they feel like it will help them accelerate the healing process, the recovery process after surgery. I'm like, and these are doctors.
Healing does not happen after death.
I know. And I'm like, okay. And these are doctors. They actually went to university and studied. Like, they're supposed to be a little bit more educated than most. But, it goes to show that once a thought or belief is ingrained in you, it's just hard to get rid of. And
yeah, that's why education is so important.
Absolutely.
Keeping the word out there that this is it's an animal, it's food, it will nourish you, I guess, on some regard, as long as you're not eating something that has distemper, parvo, and parasites.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Rabies, but I don't know. It's we need to get that. We need to help educate them and make them know that it's no more special than any other kind of meat you're going to eat.
That's right. And Sue's exceptional, for sure in every way. But would you say that in general, Koreans how do they perceive us foreigners kind of meddling into their affairs and going, well, you shouldn't be doing that? Like, is it perceived as a negative? I guess it depends how you're doing it.
Well, let's see. When we have Koreans American Koreans coming to adopt with us, we talk to them. We get a feel for who they are, and when they ask us, is this really true? Is this really happening? Like, I know, and they'll sometimes get defensive. Like, I've never seen this happening. I don't know.
Yeah.
About like this total denial that it is even a thing. So we see that side of it, and we also see the side of it that it's like, oh, I can't believe this is going on, and this is going to stop, and I really want to support what you're doing, and thank you. So we see all both aspects, both worlds, but we do see the ones that just don't believe it, They
refuse to believe it because it's shameful, I guess, and makes them feel a certain way. Most people are proud of their country, and, there are beautiful traditions, both China, Korea. It's a very rich culture. There's definitely some beautiful sides to it. But, I had my mindset is that I would not have any problems with people shaming Canada, where I'm from. If we have shameful practices, we have the seal hunt We're one of the biggest countries that exports seals for leather, for all sorts of things. It's horrific. And so I have no problem, like, shame Canada. I'm ashamed. Like, this is horrific. And why isn't the government like taking a stand on this and doing what's right? So I have no problems with that. And I always say, we're not shaming China. We're not shaming Korea. We're shaming the practice. This is wrong. You know, it's wrong in every way. Like, all across the world, we can all agree that there's a difference between what is morally, you know, ethical and what is not. And we know this, you know, like, I don't care what country you're from, you have to understand that when you're hurting a living, breathing being, that's wrong. That's just plain wrong. And it's just not so much, I would not have the same degree of involvement and discuss if it was a question that they were slaughtered the exact same way that we slaughter cows, pigs, and chickens. I mean, that's bad enough. But it's the fact that it's very inhumane, it's very brutal, this trade, and it's unnecessary. You know, like, it's not a question that they're slaughtering the dog just to feed themselves. It's not out of poverty. It's not out of any of those reasons. It's just a practice that they you know, keep, you know, perpetuating. And, you know, we have to do what's right for these dogs and put an end to it. You know, it's not about the country. It's really about the practice itself, you know, that has to go.
It does. And we have, in the States, have a lot of work to do with factory farming.
Of course, everywhere. But that's what I always say, is like, factory farms are pretty much all over the globe, you know, like every country has their own version of animal agriculture. Some are more rudimentary, but most of them have, you know, scaled it to a level that it's factory farms. And so we're guilty of the same thing, you know, that's where we're all guilty of it. And we all need to work on it. Yeah. But, you know, dog cat meat is more prevalent in certain parts of the world where it's not here. It's over there. Seal hunting is very popular here in my country. And so we're tackling the issue wherever it is. It's not a prejudice thing, you know, so. No.
And I've always said that dogs and cats, we live as people, we live the closest with these animals, you know, they become part of our family. And if we can't stop this and we can't make people understand this, that these are our companions, two true animal friends that we have, that we let live in our homes, sleep in our beds, are a part of our families. If we can't work to get them safe and stop these practices, then how can we do that for other animals that don't live in our home? You know, you know, once we start, and, you know, it's a process, it's an evolution, you know, once you can grasp that one little piece of information and truly make that yours, you know, then once we understand that dogs and cats cannot be treated this way, that they are family, that they are the one animal that's connected to us the closest by our hearts, by our heads, that we really understand each other. You know, how can we then reach out to other animals that are as close to us as these animals, you know? So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the first piece of the puzzle. I mean, it's the first step to take is banning dog cat meat trade. And then you can move forward and make progress with other animals, because it's not going to happen the other way, right? It's like China's not going to ban factory farm meat before they ban dog cat meat trade. I mean, it's logical, right? Yeah. So yes, I completely agree with you. So I know that, we're already past our time limit. Do you have 10 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. I thank you so much. I am sorry about that. I got involved with our conversation. I didn't see the time.
I've totally lost track of time too.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so on that note, I guess it brings me to one of the questions I always ask my guests, and it's a difficult one to answer, really, because it's hard to say. But in your opinion, you've been working on this issue for many, many years. You've seen some progress being made. I think COVID-19 certainly gave way to some very positive changes out of China, with 3 major cities banning the trade altogether. This is historical, right? Are you confident that it will be banned, like, as a whole? I mean, we all know that, once something is outlawed, there'll be a black market for it. That's normal. But do you believe we'll get to a point where it is illegal to slaughter dogs and cats anywhere? Yes?
I do believe it.
Yes!
I do believe it. We've got some great warriors out there. Education is getting out there. More and more people know about it. The more we talk about it and, use our voices to get this out there. This podcast, for instance, is just a wonderful tool for, getting the word out there. Yeah. I think that good people are going to make this happen, and we'll be their voices, and we won't stop until we get it done.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. And I said from the beginning, now that I'm aware of it, you can't unknow it. Yeah. And so I'm like, anyone who becomes aware of this, you have to get on board and do your part. We all have a part to play, and there's no such thing as I can't do anything. Yes, you can. Even if it's sharing a post, it's as simple as that. If you can do more, do more. But at the end of the day, I am confident that in my lifetime, this could be banned. Yeah. And I can't say the same for other animals. Unfortunately, it's going to take longer to have a vegan world, if ever. But this is something plausible. I think it's something viable. And we are making strides. It's just a question of time and getting the right people to power that will enact the right policies and make change be permanent in those countries.
Exactly.
Yay, I love it, because, often I ask that question and it's greeted with some cynicism. Like, not everyone is as, optimistic, but most people will agree that if there's something that we can outlaw, it's definitely dogs and cats, because in most of the world, they're seen as companion animals. And so, yes, as much as it is ingrained in those countries and their culture, it's a matter of time, because I even spoke to Nami Kim, and she said, listen, it's a generational issue. And she strongly believes that, once the younger generation comes to power and are elected in those offices, that, it'll be a different type of country and with different policies. And I think dogs and cats will be much happier at that point. So we have a lot to look forward to, and we just can't stop, and we have to continue and, forge ahead. Yeah. And lastly, I've been wanting to ask you, we've been talking, where is Soo Jeong Kim located in Korea?
She's in China right now, just tying up some loose ends, but she's going to be living close to our facility and near Busan.
Oh, it's near Busan. And did they enact a law against dogs? I know Nami Kim was working really hard on that city. Is it illegal at this point?
They're working on it still.
Okay. Work in progress, but yeah.
Work in progress.
And she kept naming these officials Kim, and I was like, oh, it's the same Kim. She's like, Jade, you have to understand, Kim is the most popular name in Korea. I'm like, okay. Okay, so
yes, because Jeju Island down there as well is a really bad place for dogs. Some of the worst kill shelters down there. So that needs some work down there too. We sometimes rescue down there in Jeju Island, but most of the dogs that we rescue from there die. So that's really hard. You invest a lot of money into doing these rescues, and they're so sick that they don't make. So that's a hard to invest there, but there's a lot of need there on Jeju Island as well.
Yes. Okay. So your main operations are located in Busan.
Yeah, outside of Busan.
Okay, the outskirts.
Yeah.
And so, of course, for viewers at home, we're going to link up the website because you have a beautiful website. I was on it earlier today, all these beautiful dog faces. I was like, I want to adopt. So I guess we'll encourage viewers to go see your social media pages, your website. And I guess my last question for you is that what would you say foreigners like me and a lot of our viewers, and I'm assuming from what I've seen is a lot of us are from North America, some in Europe. What would you say are the things that we can do that will help you guys over there, well, in Korea, is it signing petitions? Is it, I mean, of course, donations are more than welcome and needed. So yes, please donate. If you feel anything for these dogs and cats, please donate to the right organizations like Jindo Love Rescue. They're transparent, they're honest, they're all volunteers, they're all giving their free time. And so your donation dollar will go towards rehabilitating these dogs and saving them. But apart from that, would you say other ways that we can help?
Share information, telling your friends what's going on. If you're ever going to Korea and you want to courier a dog home to the United States or to your own country, researching your flight and your importing of dogs for your country, because each country is different and we can only right now send dogs to the United States. We used to be able to send them to Canada as well. But, restrictions start coming into play and, quarantine times. But if you're aware of the laws and what you can do to get a dog into your country, it will help make our rescuing from these countries easier.
Yeah.
If we have an understanding of what it takes to get a dog to your country and if it's even feasible.
Yeah.
So that helps. Like I said, education, getting people to know what's going on, setting up something within your own country to spread the word, or partner with rescue that is looking to get dogs out and willing to work with the guidelines of sending dogs to whatever country you're living in. So the more knowledge we spread and share with one another, the easier it is to work with these with getting dogs all over the world and out of these countries. A big thing too is that we get a lot of Korean people who live in Korea or Americans looking to adopt from our rescue, but we will not allow dogs to stay in dog meat countries unless it's a very specific situation. We will not send a dog to another dog meat trade country. But the big piece is definitely just spreading the word and getting people to realize what's going on in these countries, because so many people still don't realize that this is happening.
Yeah.
And the more people we have fighting for this cause, the faster we're going to get this to end.
Yeah. Absolutely. Amen to that. And you bring about a very excellent point. That was one of my questions I forgot to ask you, is that it's not really a viable option for you to adopt within Korea. You don't think the dog would be safe?
People do come to us and ask, even American soldiers that are based over there right now look to adopt. But a lot of people leave them behind, because it's expensive to fly them back. So, and so we just, if you want to adopt with us, you got to adopt with us and then we'll send them to you. But keeping them in Korea is not really where we don't want them to be, because they could easily end up either in a caring home, but could easily become stolen and back dog meat trade. So if there's dog meat trade in your country, we just do not want our dogs at all where there's any sort of possibility that can happen to them again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I agree with that policy because Suki Su, who's at the head of the Animal Hope and Wellness China shelter, she said the same thing. And she's obviously Chinese. And she said she would not feel safe adopting a dog out in China. It doesn't even have animal welfare laws. And dogs are constantly napped, by trainers. And so, yeah. For now, America, United States particularly, flight volunteers. Right? If you're going to travel Korea, United States, please do call them, message them, tell them the dates, and they can coordinate. And flight volunteers, they have very little to do. I mean, essentially, it's showing up at the airport. And
we come to the airport. The dogs are all ready to go. They're all cozy in their crates. All their paperwork. We just give them to you, and you put them in as baggage. And they go into the cargo hold when they fly with you. And then when you come out and go through customs, then you'll get the dogs, and you'll go through customs with the dogs. And then just meet the families will be there waiting for you when you come out with them. Mm-hmm. And it's a really lovely, fun thing.
I can imagine an emotional and amazing moment to welcome your dog finally home. Oh, thank you so much, Heather. You've been amazing, so generous with your time. And, I've learned so much from you. Honestly, I discovered some things I didn't even know about Korea. So I'm sure viewers at home will appreciate your time here on the podcast. And please, everyone at home, please support Jindo Love Rescue. They do amazing work. And without our donation dollars, without our support, they cannot do this work. So, we got to come together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right. Ciao.
Bye.